Tonight.
Just before today's election, an NBC News Wall Street Journal poll showed that 75% of those surveyed disapproved of how Congress was doing its job. 75%. Now, if today marks the end of the so-called do-nothing Congress, what exactly will get done if the Democrats take control? Joining us with their view today, Morris Reed is managing director with Weston Reinhardt. Mr. Reed serves as a staff aide in the Clinton administration and was a member of Al Gore's team. And Terry Jeffrey is editor at Human Events and former campaign manager to Pat Buchanan. Good to see you both. Thanks for joining us today.
Here.
Thanks, Bill.
Morris, let me start both of you with we're going to go over various issues that were on the agenda before that just didn't get. Let's start with immigration. If the Democrats somehow take control, Morris, what happens with immigration, do you think?
Well, this is a real issue where Democrats can show leadership. And this is one of these things where they can't sit around and expect people to give them the benefit of the doubt because they really hammered the Republicans on this. I also think the good news is no one's going to agree on everything, so everyone will have to compromise. If the Democrats can move the ball, they don't have to hit it out of the park, Bill. They can play small ball here. If they move the ball a little, I think the American people will give them credit for doing something, but they must do something.
What do you think, Terry?
Well, if the Democrats do win the House today, it's going to be very bad news for people like me who want to see the border secured and the immigration laws enforced. This past year, the House of Representatives passed an immigration bill that is very tough on border enforcement and enforcing the immigration laws at the workplace against employers who are hiring illegal aliens. They did not include the guest worker amnesty plan that President Bush wanted. The Senate did, in fact, pass an immigration bill with much Democratic support. The majority of Republicans in the Senate opposed it. That included the president's amnesty proposal. If Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House, I predict that sometime next year you're going to see her over at the White House at a signing ceremony with President Bush when they together enact an amnesty for illegal aliens.
Well, listen, first, let me just say for right now, Bill, that rhetoric is not going to solve this issue. So demonizing anyone on the right or left on this is not the way to go on this. I think the business community really wants a solution from the government here. I believe the Democrats and Republicans will have to work together. Amnesty is not the only answer. So I think that there's going to have to be a bipartisan solution, and rhetoric is not going to win the day.
Frankly, we're not here to argue the issue. I just want to know what's going to happen in your view. On taxes, of course, the president made it clear he wanted to make permanent the cuts from 2003. That didn't happen this time around. Any reason to believe it would happen this time, Morris?
No, I don't think so. I think that, unfortunately, something where the Democrats might go too far, to be honest with you. I think that we have to show a lot of restraint. I think there's going to be certain things that will be looked at very hard by Charlie Rangel and a number of people, but I don't believe that they're going to be able to do what they ultimately think. A lot of people think the Democrats are going to do and roll back everything, but it's going to take a hard look.
What do you think, Terry?
Well, Charlie Rangel, who would become the House Ways and Means chairman if the Democrats take back the House, has recently said that he doesn't see any of the Bush tax cuts which merit renewal. Fortunately, those tax cuts will not expire until 2010. But there's a big wild card coming up next year. This year, the Congress passed a one-year extension of the alternative minimum tax. It would have hit 15 million new middle-class families with $31 billion of taxes. They did that for only 1 year. So if a Democratic House next year doesn't do something about the AMT, you're going to get millions and millions of middle-class families will pay a ton more tax next year. So there is going to be some sort of movement on taxes. From the conservative perspective, you have to worry that President Bush might be tempted to cut some kind of deal that raises taxes somewhere. If he does that, that would be a disaster for the Republican Party, and you can see conservatives in Congress come out very strongly in opposition to that.
Let me talk about, with the price of oil where it is, a lot of oil companies obviously have been performing very well, reporting record profitability, and there have been rumblings in some corners of Congress of maybe trying to put through a windfall profits tax. That hasn't happened. Is it more likely, though, if the Democrats gain more control of Congress? Terry?
Well, the Democrats may try to do that. I suspect they would. It'll have a little bit of difficulty getting through the Senate, but if it actually did, I'm confident that's one tax President Bush would veto. On the flip side, however, there's an opportunity cost we're going to see. Richard Pombo, who's currently the chairman of the House Resources Committee, was able to get through the House and this Congress a bill that would have greatly expanded offshore drilling in the United States by allowing states to decide whether or not they wanted offshore drilling in exchange for some of the revenue from the leases for offshore drilling. That bill had a chance of becoming law if the president pushed it. It will never get through a Democratic House of Representatives.
What do you think, Morris? Especially when some of the leadership among the Democrats are sending signals ahead of the election that they can be more business friendly than some might otherwise fear.
Well, I think you're going to see a hard push. There's going to be a lot of people who want to do this. I think that this is a great place for the new Democrat coalition to show some leadership here. I think also in the oil space, you can't really talk about oil if you don't talk about renewable energy and other opportunities like wind and solar. So I think that you'll see the Democrats push hard for the windfall profit tax, but I think you also see them giving incentives to get folks to invest in more solar, more ethanol, other alternative fuels.
Morris Reed, Terry Jeffrey, good to see you both. Thanks for joining us today. You bet. Street Sign, just a few minutes away.